Hi there. So I've been testing the Tecsun S-8800 for a few days, mainly in regard to writing a review on this radio for Radio User magazine, and but I thought I'd share some of the results with you. I've tested it on, well, basically what you have is a low impedance BNC link connector for shortwave and FM, and then you've got high impedance spring clip connections for an antenna and ground across AM. So on long wave and medium wave, I've tested this radio with the internal ferrite rod and a 40 meter long wire. And on long wave, what's interesting is that it produced basically exactly the same results. Algeria on 153 kilohertz, Europe 1 on 183, Polski radio on 225, RTL on 234, and RTE radio 1 on 252. I didn't hear anything from Iceland on 189 or 207 kilohertz on this radio, despite the fact that I could copy both fairly clearly on my Sony ICF 2001D. So that tells me that this radio on long wave, performance is acceptable, I suppose, but it's not. It doesn't have strong. It doesn't appear to have strong performance in terms of sensitivity on long wave. And on medium wave, it's kind of a similar story. Switch this thing on at night and tune through the medium wave bands, and you hear obviously the usual plethora of European, Middle East, North African signals. Now, transatlantic propagation hasn't been great recently. However, I did manage to copy Harbour Light of the Windwards from Grenada on 1400 kilohertz with my ELAD FDM Duo and the Wellbrook, and with a long piece of wire attached to my Sony ICF 2001D at home, that basically went round the garden. I managed to hear that, because that signal can be quite strong on the ELAD. I managed to hear that signal weekly on the Sony, but again, not a peep of it on this radio. So obviously, it does. This radio doesn't have synchronous detection, where the Sony does, and that does make a difference. But basically, I think overall on medium wave, the S-8800 isn't going to impress anybody who's into medium wave DXing. On shortwave, on telescopic antenna, it's a different story. I heard some very interesting signals when I took this radio out into the woods. Just on the telescopic, I heard Radio Bangladesh Betar, Echo of Hope from South Korea, Air Kalata, Air Jaipur, Myanmar Radio, the Voice of Korea on a couple of frequencies, and Zanzibar Broadcasting Corporation, who've just come back on air. So I heard all of those on the telescopic. So barefoot, the S-8800 on shortwave, pretty impressive, an indication of decent sensitivity on shortwave. What I also heard on the telescopic, which I think I've only ever done once before on the Sony, was Radio Hargeisa for Somaliland, 7120 kilohertz. I heard that on the telescopic, and that's quite difficult without a large antenna. I also heard RTM Y Limbang FM from Kajang, Malaysia on the telescopic, which is also a difficult signal to hear at all in Europe. So overall, that was a very, very good result for this radio on the telescopic. With the Wellbrook loop at home connected to this radio, it really impressed. Air Bhopal on 4810, Radio Clube de Para from Brazil, Radio Voz Missionaria, Brazil, Air Jaipur, Radio Nacional de Angola, 4949.72, Voice of Tigray Revolution, Ethiopia, Radio Sudan, 7205 kilohertz. That's all very, very good DX, and on a portable radio, superb result. I suppose worthy of particular note, I heard Radio Evangeliza on 6040.7 kilohertz from Brazil. That's a very difficult signal to catch in Europe, and I heard it with this radio, with the S-8800, an excellent result. So at home, with an H-field loop, this is a very good radio, for DXing, on the tropical bands, and a bit further up HF, at night, you're going to hear some good stuff with this radio. I took it out into the woods and attached a 40-metre long wire to it, and basically did the same thing, tuned through tropical bands and through up through HF, and managed to catch Radio Sondagren, South Africa, Gander Volnet, the Squeaky Wheel, 3828 kHz USB, Radio Difusora di Roraima, which is a difficult catch. Club de Para was kind of booming. Heard Angola again, Voz Missionaria, Pyongyang BS on 6,400 kHz, Voice of Korea, Radio Brazil Central on 11815 was an excellent catch, as was Radio Aparecida on 11855, which is also a very difficult catch. I suppose particularly noteworthy, I copied Tama, Radio Tama from Peru on 4774.9, and Radio Cultural Amateur on 4955 kHz. Both of those are really quite difficult to hear in this country, in Europe, and I copied them both on this radio. So the S-8800 on shortwave with the telescopic, or with larger antennas, has proven itself to be a super sensitive radio with excellent selectivity, and so for shortwave DXing, I would most definitely recommend this radio. Whether you would want to pay £300 for it, I don't know. I've seen it advertised as low as $259.99 in the UK at least. I'm guessing it's cheaper elsewhere, but overall, in terms of sensitivity on shortwave, this radio is really, really good. On long wave and medium wave, I'd say it's mediocre at best for a DXer, but if you're just someone who likes to listen to RTE or RTL or Europe 1 or Polski radio at night, or even radio Antenna Satelor 153 Romania, I love their folk music they play. It's a good radio, but probably don't expect to hear Turkmenistan or anything particularly exotic on long wave or medium wave for that matter. So this is really, for me, this is all about excellent audio on FM, superb. I love the warm audio that you get on long wave with this radio as well. So generally, this is just a radio with very, very good sensitivity on shortwave, with excellent audio fidelity on, for me, on long wave and on FM. So in the end, it all boils down to performance versus price. And for £300, don't get me wrong, it's a good radio, but for half that money, you could probably pick up a Sony ICF 2001D, which will outperform this radio on all bands with any antenna. But along with that, there's the risk of that 25, 30-year-old radio developing a problem, and then you've got to pay to get it fixed. I understand now why, when I watched videos of this radio previously, the performance on the sensitivity performance on this radio appears to be as good or better than the PL-880. Its older sort of cousin, because it is a very, very sensitive radio on shortwave. So, ultimately, I think for me, that's what this radio is going to be all about. If I decide to buy one, it's going to be because of that shortwave performance. Can I justify it to myself, given I've got so many other radios? Well, I probably could if I thought about it hard enough. But for someone who's looking for, a desktop radio or a field radio as a kind of first purchase, I think I would recommend this radio, because particularly if what you're interested in is listening on the tropical bands and further up, through HF. The other point is that at no point did I experience any overloading with this radio. It's designed to handle large antennas very well. It didn't overload on the Wellbrook loop. It didn't overload with a 40-metre long wire. And obviously, you can see from the design of this radio with various connectors for attaching large antennas, it appears to have been designed very well. And I think that's consistent with the PL660, 680, PL880, all of which handle large antennas very well. So there's no difference with this radio. You know, I suppose really with this radio, it's kind of at odds with the other Texans, particularly the 680, 660. They basically offer superb performance for very little money. Here you're getting, you know, superb performance on shortwave, but you're paying a lot of money. And you know, for a radio that doesn't have synchronous detection, you know, I don't know. It's, I guess, a decision that only you can make yourselves. But all I can say is, if you're looking for something that performs well on shortwave, this could be the one for you. So, well, I hope that was useful. Thank you for watching. Unfortunately, I have to give this radio back. I've got to send it back when I've completed writing up the review. But it's useful for me because I'm in a good position now, whereas you know, whereby if I ever decide to buy this radio, I've got first-hand experience of using it. So you know, it'll be a shame to send it back. I've enjoyed using it, but you know, that's the way it is. And I just hope that if any of you guys at some point in the future are thinking about buying this radio, that by watching this video you've learned something new about it that will help you in that decision. So okay, well, thanks very much, and thanks for watching.